Hey there, it is 5:27, November 12th, Wednesday afternoon. It's not quite evening yet, but I pretty much wasted my entire day. Like I felt as though I could have made better use of my time. It's just that I didn't feel okay, I wanted to go out today and I didn't feel compelled to go walking or do anything because it wasn't bright outside. Like I really needed it to be bright outside, but it was just like this dreary day. So I just kind of stayed in the house and, thought about stuff. And, I had mentioned that I know that my reputation and then the acknowledgement of my work was something that was almost obscure, like, because of the group of people that was, uh, you know, how can I say this? Illegally, I guess, manning my channel and, taking over my work, which really upset me, which, I now got the intuitive message that I fought the institution and won. And the reason why I say this is because many of the people, such as Alita and Mary Landucci, Terry Collins, and all these people, are products of the institution, meaning we know that Christianity was involved in some things that they should not have been involved in, okay? And I understand that, they did things that were typical of human beings, okay? Human beings do things like become envious, become competitive, start coveting, and it got out of control. And this is because there were not any proper checks and balances, and people just completely forgot and abandoned the entire purpose of why they were even starting to worship God in the first place. So it just got out of control, through century after century and so on and so forth. And I think, me talking about the soul tribe that I am associated with, how we have come back several different times through these same little organizations that are loosely affiliated with the church. And so now this is where we're at. So when I say the institution, I am referring to people who have been highly indoctrinated by the church system and then broke out on their own with their own selfish motives and have created all this. Also, when it comes to the institution, it's important to realize that even political leaders and people in positions of power have unfortunately been indoctrinated by this. Okay, there is not a person on the face of this earth who has avoided being indoctrinated even in the slightest way by this institution of false religion. And it, like I said, even the reason why I'm in this situation right now, the reason why I sit here and twiddle my thumbs, pace around the house, look forward to going even to the grocery store, because this is where my life has been led to, because I am a victim of Christianity and its mind control programs. Okay, so yes, the reason why I could say that I fought the institution, even though I didn't actually, participate in a war, is that I was I was very firm in my stance against what Mary Landucci and everybody else was trying to launch against me, regardless of how many people wanted to try to convince me otherwise. It's just I felt as though, I understood the situation more, and I always knew the reason why I am a loner basically is because I've been avoiding people from these sort of institutions my entire life, and then standing back and looking at their behavior and the inconsistencies in what they do, the contradictions in what they so-called believe. And it's funny how so many people were willing to put their neck on the line for this institution, meaning their so-called religion, when they really could not explain why. Okay, they do not understand why they felt like they needed to, stand up and be these like so-called soldiers or, or whatever. Okay, and like I said, me, as somebody who has been anointed or considered to be anointed, I, my spiritual calling does not require people to grovel or sacrifice things that they want and do in life in order for me to grant them anything. Okay, so we understand that there's been, throughout history, people have been like bending over backwards and being mistreated and outright abused by religious systems. Okay, so like when I think of the overkill that was placed here on the earth, how people have died throughout the years in religious wars and so on and so forth, and the pain the unnecessary pain that we've gone through. Me just understanding that I was set up in a fake family, the whole thing, okay? Unnecessary drama. And what was the root of this? Evil. That's what it is. And so now people are starting to look at this whole issue, and they're like, wow, I'm seeing this with different eyes. And so this is what I'm talking about, the new world order. It's like, let's move forward in truth instead of, egotistical lies and so on, okay? So yes, I would say that I fought the institution just by standing here, just by saying, I'm going to adhere to the law, and I'm going to reject what these people are doing, because I knew what it was wrong. And just like I said, I knew when I was younger, that what I observed from people was not considered to be functional, was not considered to be normal. And like I said, I know throughout my life I have been bullied by a huge institution worldwide. I mean, I've had people, be a part of this conspiracy to, basically bully me, right? That's a lot of people, okay? And I am an army of one person. So this is what tells you something, is that by adhering to the law, okay, is what helped save me, because I have something to stand on. Also, I truly do believe in my philosophy, and I have proven myself right. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that people look at me as somebody who is well organized, someone who is very well educated when it comes to the formulation of religion, as well as how society structure should work. And yes, I am. So some people throughout my life, like I remember when I was younger, people would come up to me and it's like, Maria, aren't you gonna, talk about my political beliefs and stuff like that? It's like, you don't have an opinion on this? I do have my opinions on that. But I always wanted to be very peaceful. Like I said, this whole issue of me being a victim of human trafficking has made it so that I came out of my cubbyhole. Okay, I felt as though I needed to say something because this was absolutely crazy. Like, I understand people have their differences. People argue about, taxes. They talk about, the rich getting richer, the poor get. And I've heard all this stuff throughout the years. Okay, it just went in my ear, one thing, and all I really cared about was my peace of mind. I wanted to have my little daily routine. I wanted to go and get my stuff at the 99-cent store on the weekends. I wanted to hit the thrift stores, hit a couple garage sales, and head home and live in my little life and live my little world. Okay, that's all I care about. I think what deep down inside, that's what most people care about. They want their little space, whatever that entails. Okay, they want their peace of mind. Okay, and when your peace of mind is shaken to the core, that's like, whoa, okay, I needed to say something. And then I realized that I'm not the only person who has been railroaded. Okay. Meaning, like, we've had this whole human trafficking system, we have this whole targeted individual system, and then we also have my soul tribe. Okay, the soul tribe that's been in front of everybody's face century after century, and we've just kind of swept it under the rug of these odd relatives that seem out of the place. Okay, now this is the history of these people. Okay, and this ties into, these special people who have been cloned throughout the centuries and who've been brought back over and over and over again. Okay, so we play an integral role in this, because this issue was supposed to have been found out in the Bible, meaning this is what they call, I don't hate to say end time prophecy or whatever, but the whole knowledge of who we are. Now we know that we are facing the truth, and we can make that decision. I assume that cloning operations are still going to be standing by, okay, for whatever reason. There are some people who may want to come back as clones. They may want to come back as clones for whatever reason, okay? So I would think that religious institutions need to get together and talk about this. Like, you guys have your baptismal records and stuff. You might want to add like a little checkbox saying, if this person wants to come back as clone. I guess these cloning operations might as well stick around, because there are some people who really do love the hamster wheel. But what I'm trying to do is, like the new earth and the new heaven and the new earth, I'm trying to make it a better way of life, so that people do not have to be on the hamster wheel. It's supposed to be restored to Eden, okay? I mean, and this is what I choose to do, okay? And this is what I'm saying and doing in the Swan Song Manifesto, as well as the little additional, I don't know, publications, maybe videos that go ahead, okay? So this is the uplifting part. And then, of course, me talking about the workplace through the Gordon's Occupational Engineering. This is my life's work, is what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm really glad that I've made a difference. And so I did get this intuitive message. I talked about me being kind of removed from my own work. Like I think Mary Landucci and this group of people were telling people not to contact me, not to communicate with me, that I was supposed to not have any. That's wrong. Okay, what she did was obviously some form of competition that I never wanted to engage in. If people want to acknowledge me, that's fine. I'm not saying that they should or they shouldn't. Okay, it's just the fact that when I created these publications and these writings, I wanted to create a what do you call it, like a group of people to discuss this issue, to be a part of you know what I mean, like a community type discussion. And I feel as though her participation created so many problems and put me in situations to where I was so distanced from my work that obviously that's unfair. So I know that Mary Landucci would come up with every single reason under the sun as to why I was not worthy of listening or being a part of my own creations. Okay, a lot of it had to do with me not really fully being on board with her Menticide program, as well as she felt as though something about my taste in music. Maybe she thought because of my race, I was only supposed to like a one kind of music. I am not that narrow minded. Like I said, music is of the arts, and it's something that is, um, it's bigger than that. Like music is. It transcends to me, it transcends race. Okay, so that is not important to me. Okay, and so I understand that a lot of times I do not have the same values as most people, and this is what puts me apart from the world. You know how the Bible talks about not being a part of the world? I take that literally. Like, I understand that there's a lot of people who overlook hidden treasures, right? To just because they want to nitpick over, like, okay, well, this person's white and so therefore I cannot like it. Okay, they do this when it comes to music and sometimes even movies, right? But like, you'll notice that if they go to like a Hallmark card, right? They go to Hallmark and they pick out a greeting card, which is usually filled with words that are very emotional, just like a song, right? They'll pick out a card and they'll give it to somebody, but they don't sit here and agonize over, I wonder, did a white person write that, or did a black person write it, or is in who wrote that? They don't think about those sort of things, and I don't think about that sort of things either. To me, if the song is written well, it expresses itself, I can relate to it, especially if it has a lot of beautiful musical instrumental pieces in it. It touches me in a way. I don't care about those things. So I don't have the same values as a lot of people, what I would call of the world. Okay, the world has been convinced to have very limited thinking, to be very small minded, to only enjoy things that the institution or their peers say to enjoy. And I do not see value in that. So, this is one of the reasons why I do, at 54 years old, I'm somebody who has a young heart. I enjoy life to the best of my ability, with the exception of the nightmare drama that I had to deal with. Okay, so anyway, the other message I'm getting is that yes, people want me to bring back Monday Merriment. Now the thing is that I am looking for work, okay, and so I need to get back to work. But I kept thinking, well, in the meantime, while I'm not working, maybe I might, okay. And so my biggest issue was with the things that I had created is that Mary Landucci, as well as a little other group, would prevent me from even interacting with people. So it's like, if I wanted to have somebody on a show or try to expand my show, she was like, she was preventing me from doing that. I think she even went to each and every celebrity and was like, don't talk to Maria. I cannot tell you how childish that is. That is very childish, okay? But yeah, I would like to do something, maybe if it's not with Monday Merriment, I do want to do different things. And like I said, I do want to bring other people in, like for interviews and stuff like that, or whatever. You know what I mean? There's things I want to do in my life, and I feel as though Mary Landucci and this stupid group was preventing me from doing it. The intuitive message I'm getting is that Trump supports and protects my stance and my rights. I should not worry. I am 100% safe. The other message I have is that people, the discussions of my ethics is healing a lot of people. They respect the fact that I do have a moral system and it is making an impact. Okay, I think that's wonderful, because when you think about it, this is really what so-called Christians are supposed to be living by. Okay, it's not just something that you say, oh, I'm a Christian, therefore I can go ahead and like walk all over you. This is what I'm talking about, religious abuse. Okay, and this is what I'm trying to say and tell people and how to identify it. Okay, if you see people who say one thing and they do another, You know what I mean? Like, we love God and we are Christians, okay? We know that Christians is to walk into the footsteps of Christ, okay? So therefore, if Christ was, the example, meaning like he was the one who was supposed to replace the law, not necessarily discard it, but if by living like Christ, you understand that you're not going to be doing the things that they discuss in the Ten Commandments, right? Because this is like the way of the right path of living. And I'm not trying to be silly, and I'm not trying to be like goody two shoes. I'm just trying to point out how you can identify BS when you see it. Okay, and that was BS. Okay, so and this is how I've always looked at it, and I remember when I was younger, when I would go to like religious places or visited them, those how I saw the members of these congregations and how they lived mattered to me. Okay, so I this is one of the reasons why I never went full on with religion, because I saw too much of what I had to go through, just recently. Okay, and I know that my sister Tanya, she suffered a lot of mental illness because of religious abuse. Okay, and this created a world for her where everyone that she attracted in her life was somehow abusive to her. Including her husband, which I do believe maybe he came to understand that he was abused to her, mainly because of his indoctrination. He was probably indoctrinated to be the overbearing, uber masculine guy that just is over the top. Okay, some people use these sort of things to abuse people, and I do believe that he was like that. Okay, so also people do appreciate me discussing topics like the inner child. Yes, the inner child is important. I mean, when you think about it, um, a lot of us have been abused. You know what I mean? Or outright neglected. And I would say that's pretty much the same thing. Sometimes, being ignored is even worse than physical beating if you think about it. Okay. I mean, there's things that we've all gone through. And, a lot of our trauma is not healed. And sometimes we go through things that pave the way. Just like I talked about Tanya, experiencing religious abuse, in her young years, and that carried throughout her entire life. Because she was abused, she saw things through a certain lens. Her eyes could only see things and fixated, and she was attracted to things that even put her even deeper into the hole. Okay, she didn't even realize she had mental problems. She didn't even realize she was indoctrinated. Okay, and so this is what I'm saying. I was able to see. I knew that when I used to kind of make jokes about my sister Tanya. Okay, it's not funny, but I noticed that she was not all there. Okay, and so I figured she was somebody who consented to the lifestyle that she had. I had now see, and that was kind of funny to me because I kept thinking, why don't she just walk away? Now, because I went through all of this, I see how difficult it would be for her to do this. Okay, Tanya lived through a very abusive life. Okay, and I can tell. Okay, and her children, unfortunately, because Tanya was so unhappy with herself, I would say her children were garbage. Her children, she produced garbage because she was not in a position to give them any good guidance because she was a mess herself. Her husband was a joke, and therefore her kids were nightmares. Okay, like I said, trash breeds trash. Okay, so anyway, but I understand where she came from, and I understand her situation, and I'm at peace with these ex siblings of mine. But at the same time, it's better for me to never see them again. I do not want to ever communicate with them again. Okay, people don't understand the deep trauma and the hurt that goes along with all of this, and there is a lot of hurt in it. Okay, how is it that you could sit here and raise someone and be around this person and treat them and turn around and treat them like they are the way that I mean, like they're nothing. You know what I mean? It takes a very greedy and selfish person. And so now I have to deal with this fact that I was basically used. I was used for that. You know what I mean? My mother would sit around and she took advantage of the kindness of my father, and I feel as though she misused me, and if it wasn't for me they wouldn't have had anything in the first place. So yeah, it kind of pisses me off when I think about it. Okay, so and then for my mom to turn around in my later years and be so evil to me, it's just outright shocking. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that I have proven so much in my experience, and I have. Okay, I mean, I understand human behavior, and so you know um I think people look at me as somebody who is kind of odd because I am different. I am very different. But, I think a lot of people are waking up and understanding that this is actually a good thing. Okay. So, what else do I want to say? Now I also know that people, that like my name has been absolved from the church. I do believe my father, James Gordon, is also his name is absolved from the church. My father is long gone and he's in heaven. Okay, but I want people to understand that my father was, to the best of his ability. Now he was a human being and he made his mistakes. Okay, but he was a good man. Overall, he was a decent man, and he did have a good heart. Okay, I would say that people railroaded him. He was a victim of human trafficking. I watched him go downhill. I think and this is what disturbs me so much, is that I understand that my ex siblings, Rashawn particularly, would do a lot of things that would put my father in this situation. You know what I mean? And this is very painful for me to understand that I had this Judas living in my home and didn't care about, he was just one of those kind of people that either side, he was a kind of, seriously, he would play whatever side. He just wanted to be on the winning team no matter what. You know what I mean? And so this is very heartbreaking to me. But at the same time, it's time to move on. So anyway, what else do I want to say? Oh, I'm glad that people understand that the history of CB Braganza, who I think, I love CB Braganza. I'm going to just tell you right now, I am not in any way ashamed to be this person. People could say, and this is one of the reasons why I refuse to be ashamed or feel bad about it. I'm very proud to say that I was CB Braganza, very proud, okay, because I understand that he made a lot of contributions to the religious communities, and he opened the eyes of a lot of people, so much so that they took his stuff, okay. That part pisses me off, but I mean, I understand the church fought CB Braganza for a very long time, and the reason why CB Braganza, he was stopped back then, okay, like, I talked about moving to different locations and states back in those times, and because of this workplace intrusion, being bullied and stuff like that. And I, of course, Maria Gordon has experienced the same thing, and now I'm being able to turn it around and make sense of it, okay, even in countries, okay, that is not the United States. I cannot tell you how much that means to me, for people to be able to consider the workplace and understand how it affects our daily life, okay, and it really does. When I think of having crappy days at work and then coming home, and then it just paints everything. It's a negative thing. If you go to work and you hate your job and the people there treat you like garbage, and then you have that to go home and think about during the week, and like, am I going to lose my job? These people, really abused me psychologically in the workplace, and I understand that I would never want to emulate them in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Yes, I fought the institution and I won. Okay, and now I want to move on with my life. I do want to be able to reach out to people and do interviews. I do want to be able to have more of an active life. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is something about the mental illness of Christianity. Yeah, it is the the mental illness of Christianity that prevented me from even having control over my projects, okay? Mary Landucci was very indoctrinated. I don't know which religion she belonged to. She might have been LDS or something. I know Alita was Catholic and all these other things. Okay, these people wanted to remove merit from my work, and they felt like, I should not be seen. What these people did is shameful. It is absolutely shameful, and I'd like to move on from it. Okay, there's been some people that I've considered to reach out to in the past. I knew that these people were up to their little, don't talk to Maria, and you know what? That right there is a crime. A crime. Okay, just trying to eliminate people or ostracize people. That's just outright proof of people trying to gain control over you and putting you into a human trafficking system. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I want to get settled down. I definitely want to get out of the house tomorrow because I meant to get out of the house today, and I made, it was just a really dreary day, but I know that I need to get out of the house tomorrow. I'm trying to keep my mind busy, but I feel very unhappy just sitting around. I mean, I'm getting very agitated, I get very pissed off because I think of people like Mary Landucci causing these sort of problems and being slow to remedy it. And then one of the message I get is something about Mary Landucci is jealous of me and my talents, okay? And she feels something of, yeah, she feels jealous of my talents. I'm not responsible for her failures. You know what I mean? I'm not responsible. It is wrong for her to sit here and create these sort of problems. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, stalking when it comes to employers and how they allow stalking and how they, perpetuate this sort of stalking behavior. Who's to say Mary Landucci could have known the girl over at CFS? She could have done that, okay? I'm tired of dealing with Mary Landucci. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is once again, I fought the institution and won. And yes, Mary Landucci, I get the feeling that this message is because Mary Landucci was the one who instigated all of these issues with people contacting me. Well, she needs to stop doing that. If she's not dead, you knock it off, okay? I have a right to live my life. The intuitive message I'm getting right now is that my house is filled with abundant things. Maybe Mary Landucci belonged to a religion where, they were not allowed to put pictures on the wall. Some people believe in that. Some people want to have, some people don't want to have any decorations in their house, and that is their choice. Okay. But, I'm somebody, I like color. I love the intensity of color. Mary Landucci had no right to interject her personal taste on me. And like I said, me being associated with the network that she belonged in, that was something that was against my will. Okay. So yeah, I want to move forward with my projects, and I do want to be able to reach out to people in the future. And I would like to interview people and, do the things that I want to do to expand my personal projects. I do not want to be obstructed by any more people. Okay. Something about me singing, something about singing. Singing is yeah, okay, okay, okay. Maybe it's because people were saying, you know, uh, I took the test and I proved that I was an analytical person, and they wanted to, these stupid people, okay, they thought just because you are, um, if you're analytical, that means that you would not have a taste in music, okay? That is ignorant. That is very ignorant, okay? I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's so stupid. So this is one of the reasons why they obscured the results. And then also they wanted to punish me. Anything I did, like, they would think, well, she needs to stop singing if she wants to do this or whatever. It's like, you don't tell me how to orchestrate my stuff. So get out of the way. Stay out of the way. So, and then I'm getting this message about something about that a lot of the people who were involved in this agree with my idea of adult education because they admit that they don't know. They don't know any better. Okay. Well, now you do. So any continuation of it is a violation of my rights. So get out of my way. I will be discussing Gordon's occupational engineering as well as the Swan Song Manifesto when it comes up or if it's necessary. I don't need to sit here and advertise it or tell people about that. But it's important that I'm tired of dealing with Mary Landucci's stuff. I want her her what do you call it, influence to vanish away from my life, meaning all the intensity that she put into targeting me and that's out in the community and drifting into different areas or whatever, it needs to waft away and go and blow away and never come back. Like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. The intuitive message I'm getting is that I should be proud to be authentic. And see, Mary Landucci didn't believe in being authentic. Okay, I don't have to answer to you, Mary Landucci. I don't have to answer to anyone. Okay, I have the right to be who I am. Something about she. Okay, now I talked a little bit about Vladimir Putin. I do believe that maybe Mary Landucci knew about this whole thing about before I knew. Like I said, I was completely in the dark. I think she was a little jealous because of Vladimir Putin being associated in this particular group. Okay, like I said, I am not living for Mary Landucci. I don't need her approval. I resent her being a part of my life in the first place. Like I said, when I left Flourishing Fart, I thought that was the end of the deal. Like, I figured that was the end of I was ever going to have anything to do with her. I had no idea that she was tagging along. Okay, that bothers me. But yeah, it seems as though she was someone who had some sort of envy against me. Okay, and like I said, people might feel envious towards other people, and that's it happens at times. But the thing is that Mary should have tried to find something that she was good at. Okay, everybody has the right to excel at something. Okay, and I felt as though what Mary was doing was wrong. and it caused me a lot of psychological harm. And she was willing to continue her psychological harm, especially when I think about that stupid job requisition that I saw a couple of days ago. Okay, so you know what? It's better for, if you notice that there's people like that in your life, you need to cut them out of your life. Okay, and I'm trying to tell people this. I'm trying to give people an idea of what kind of people they should be associating with. And I will tell you, if you really start analyzing your friends and you know that you see these sort of traits in them, they're not your friends, okay? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video at some time later. But anyway, what I'm basically saying is that I choose to move forward in my endeavors when it comes to Gordon's Occupational Engineering, as well as the Swan Song Manifesto, and I choose to have more of an active life and be fully engaged in my work, okay? And I am tired of people, I want, if people choose to talk to me about my work or my projects or something, I am 100% willing to discuss this. Also, the message I'm getting right now is that, yeah, it confirms that, yes, that people were influenced by Mary Landucci, and now they realize that they were influenced by it and that they were indoctrinated by it, and it's mentally ill on Mary Landucci and this other group's part to sit here and do such a petty thing. That's so petty, okay? Please take heed by what you observed by this person, and make sure you never emulate it. It is truly childish. I do encourage other people to cultivate an interest in their talents and their hobbies and bring them to the forefront. That means, like, for example, there might be some women who may have been really good at gymnastics a long time ago, and maybe they keep thinking, oh, well, I just kind of shelved that. I haven't had time to do it. If your kids are out of the house, go ahead and resume that. Go back into your life. Engage in the things that you enjoy doing, if you can do it. Okay, some of us, if we were to get on one of those bars, we might break a hip. Okay, but if you can still do it, do it. Do the things that you love doing, and you do not have to sit here and feel bad because you are doing something to feel your soul. Okay, I think this is what I'm trying to say, and I would say that being a part of this network, it was very dark for me because these people were trying to destroy everything that I cared about, and then wanted me to justify why I did. They didn't realize I have no reason to justify anything to these people. Okay, this is how arrogant they are. It's like, well, we want you to stop showing your picture. We want you to stop doing this, and trying to critique my work. I mean, some people really are that obnoxious, okay? So like I said, let this be an example to you, a lesson to you, and not to emulate these sort of individuals. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening and, of course, a wonderful life. And I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.